Lanarkshire is a community radio station governed by the registered charity Getting Better Together Limited. Therefore, the radio station itself retains political neutrality, and any political views or comments aired as part of political discussion programming or otherwise are not the views of Listen Lanarkshire, nor of Getting Better Together Limited. The station has a set of key commitments found on the Ofcom website, and we adhere to all necessary Ofcom rules. For more information or inquiries, please contact us at radio@shotshealthyliving.com.
Good evening, folks, and welcome back to What's the Point, the podcast where power gets poked, councillors get roasted, and their very own North Korean leader Kim Jong-un still refuses any form of public scrutiny. But say to the elderly advertiser that we have a photo opportunity, then he's there faster than the roadrunner. Beep beep. As always, I'm joined by my co-pilot and political anarchist, the Bellsy Hill bowler himself, the man who wears Jesus sandals with sports socks and still thinks Crocs are an acceptable form of evening wear at a wedding. Jerry Brennan, how are we?
Very well, Greg, and as always, it's an extraordinary pleasure to be in your company.
Well, I am your host, still banned for the council canteen for asking too many questions about the lentil soup, and yes, still there, Jerry, it's still there. But tonight, Jerry, we've got something a wee bit special. Have you ever seen a political earthquake caused by one man, a TikTok account, a blackboard, and a severe allergy to political pish? Well, Jerry, let me introduce Councillor Wullie Hogg, South Ayrshire's newest independent wrecking ball and fencing specialist. How are you, Wullie?
Not bad, feeling good all the way up here. Is it Shorts we're in the night?
Shorts, the right, aye.
Shorts, sunny Shorts.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you, Wullie. Wullie didn't just win this by-election, Jerry. He drop-kicked the political establishment straight into the dune.
It was an earthquake.
Seismic.
When the SNP, Labour and the Tories were chucking leaflets, ministers and possibly the kitchen sink into Ayr North. All this before Stephen Penman takes on that big job. Wullie was knocking doors, TikToking and getting the blackboard out with one message: I live here, I listen. Now, give me the job. And these shysters are definitely failing you. And guess what? Voters said aye, fair enough.
They did.
He's proof that folk are scunnered, and maybe, just maybe, Jerry, we're seeing the return of real local politics. You know, the kind where potholes matter more than party whips. This is What's the Point. We're available on 107.7 FM, and again, the podcast drops on Thursday. Now, Jerry, where to start?
Well, Wullie, for anybody that doesn't know you yet, how would you describe yourself in just a few sentences?
Basically, a simple person with a voice to be heard, and that's it. I speak my mind, and I'm there to help people. I'm a people person. No ifs, no buts, a people person. I put the people first and think about the people and what I can do to help my fellow citizen.
Right, so
simple as that.
You're an Ayrshire man. Have you lived in Ayr all your days?
No.
Are you born and bred, or are you?
Born and bred in Dalrymple, and I've lived in there for the last 15 years.
Right, okay. And you're a fencer?
I do garden fencing. I make gates.
You make gates?
Make gates.
And you've been doing that for how long?
About 30 years.
Right, okay. So
off and on.
So how do you move?
How do you move from fencing, a normal, dirty-handed working man's job, into the murky puddle that is Scottish politics, Wullie?
I've always been, one way or another, involved in politics, through the trade union or the Labour Party.
Right.
So it's always been in me. As simple as that.
So you were a member of the Labour Party previously?
I was a member of the Labour Party previously, twice, 3 times, 4 times, maybe 5 times. I've went and left.
And did it represent what you first stood for or first joined?
When I'm 63, 64 next year. The Labour Party, and I'm quite honest with you, that's the first time in my life that I've never voted Labour.
Wow.
Right, I voted Labour. Where I come from, the Doon Valley is a mining community, and I always voted Labour, and I believed in Labour as I do in the trade union movement. But I don't believe in it now, because it's no the Labour Party that I once knew and was brought up with. It's a business. It's a profit and loss business. So no, it's the Labour Party. I still feel bad about having to vote against them and voting for myself even.
Right.
But people don't recognise the Labour Party now. And I'm not going off here, but seeing the campaign, I was out there campaigning, meeting North Ayr, the ward I stood for is the most deprived, high crime rate, drug rate in South Ayrshire. Right? The people are crying for help out there, the apathy within it. When people are stopping in the street during the campaign saying, we need you, Wullie, we need your voice. We need a voice. We need an honest voice. We need a transparency. We need integrity, and because they're not getting that now with the mainstream political parties. Political parties have no room in local politics now. They should be. What I thought my campaign on was local issues, local matters, local candidate, local resident. Because you're in the ground every day out there in your ward. You're walking about, you're driving about, you're meeting people. You know what's happening. You're not alienated away 5-6 mile away or 10 mile away. You've got to be in the ward, and you can feel what it's all about.
Aye. Well, listen, I don't disagree with that, Wullie. My entire campaign, I'm a councillor in North Lanarkshire, obviously, so is Jerry. My entire 2 campaigns were fought on the basis that I stay locally, I know what the issues are, and let me be that voice. Now, even at my own detriment within the council, that has been significant. But one of the points that I would raise is, you say their political parties are failing the constituents at the moment. I couldn't agree more. If you remember back to 2022 when we stood for election, Jerry, I had a running mate in my ward area, Councillor Joanne Kelty. And she was the SNP candidate standing in my ticket, and it was my endorsement that got her elected. But lo and behold, we're now 3-4 years into this council term, approaching 4 years in May, and really in effect that person, I was reading comments today on social media, where is she? We've not seen her in 3 or 4 years, and you're looking at it, Wullie, and you're going, that's the issue right there. Political parties are no listening to the electorate.
They don't listen, because what they've alienated us all. And I've got to watch you all laugh, boys, but you know what I'm going to say? For the first week and a half, I've had the code of conduct left, right and centre, right? And I can understand the code of conduct to a level. Happy to advise you, Wullie. But you must represent the people that voted for you to the best of your ability, right? And that's what I'll try and do. So sometimes it seems to be they're putting handcuffs on you to restrain you, right?
They want you to be scared.
But sometimes you've got to overcome that if you want to represent the people. Now, if you're representing a highly deprived area, highest unemployment, I've not gone through the stats again for the North here, but it's self-explanatory. Sometimes you'll need to do things to represent those people. And politicians, they don't care. What I found in my campaign there, the politicians were out chapping doors. They were not interested. They were only interested in one thing: are you going to vote for us? And that's all they were caring about. They weren't caring. I mean, I told people during my campaign on social media, you can look back, I was begging people to go and vote, and I wasn't even saying, don't even vote for me, but go and use your democratic right and vote. Don't even vote for me, go and vote, because your voice is the ballot box. And that's how I keep telling people, your voice is the ballot box. And I tell that to people. And the politicians don't want people to know that. They don't want people to think for themselves. Because it's all these academics and university trained people, and know what the Labour parties know what man's party or working people's party. What's what I'm saying there? So I don't think that just stems to the Labour party. SNP's the same. They're all the same. They all care. It's all profit and loss. It's like they're running the business, income and expenditure, and profit and loss, and that's what they care. You want to vote for us? Great, walk away. That's no care. And it's crazy and it's wrong. But people are now, because of social media, people can educate and see what's going on. And I'm proud of the fact how I won my campaign.
So you should be.
With my blackboard, with my speakers, with my social media. And the Labour Party didn't know what to do. They're running about there like heedless chickens, my cockerels. They're running about like heedless chickens. That's how they were bringing them all in for all over. And I knew, because I've worked with some of these people who were out campaigning, and they were laughing at me in the street, thinking came blah blah blah, and they said that I would only get 10% of the vote. 10%. So and it wasn't a great victory just for me, it was a great victory for the people in North Ayr, because they've sent a big message out there. Look, we've had enough. This is just not a silly wee council by-election. There are bigger messages that people are actually sick and tired of the mainstream political parties. And I would say out there to anybody, if you're well kent and you're get in there next year or the following year, and stand as a local independent candidate, because it will shake things up.
Absolutely.
We agree.
Do you know, we looked at the numbers. I think you had 860 or thereabouts first preference votes, right? But you ended up with about 1,600 in total.
Yeah,
so it just shows you how important it is if you are a well-kent face.
I'm interrupting. I was talking to one of the voters on Saturday near High Street, Richard Devine, and the fella come up and he says to me, they congratulate me. And by the way, the congratulations I've had since then, people coming up, and you can actually see it in their face.
It's genuine.
Genuine. I said, we're glad because they've had enough. But Richard Devine said a good point to me on Saturday in High Street. He said, well, you know something? He voted for. He said, thanks, Richard. He said, my wife, he said, my whole family voted for you because we know that you're a decent, honest guy. He said, but I'll tell you something new, well, they're going on about only a 27% turnout. He said, see the people that came out especially to vote for you. No, people that don't usually vote. It wouldn't have been 27%. He said, people come out to vote for you. Yeah. He said, they didn't. He said, well, I don't usually bother voting. He said, I know people in the exact same situation. They don't. And we were talking, the people who were helping me, we were talking, the people come up and stop me, well, where do we vote? We don't vote. And I'm going, such and such, going, these people don't usually vote. And they come out to vote. So it would have been a lot lower if, and I'm not trying to sell praise, no praise at all, if these they weren't coming out just to vote for me, the poll would have been a lot lower, because there were one recently up in the Doon Valley in East Ayrshire for one of the Labour councillors that was voted MP, and the Labour candidate got in with 500 votes, and I think it was about an 18-19% turnout. You with me? And it was a wee bit higher in Kilmarnock for the. You with me? So, and these are predominantly Labour-dominated areas. An SNP now, and the people just don't want to vote. I mean, you're meeting people saying, I don't know who to vote for, I don't want to vote for any of them. I've never heard that in my life. Now, in the last 2 or 3 years, that's what people are saying, because people have had it to the back teeth. They do not want, they've no trust or respect for politicians. No. And I don't know what's going to happen to get the trust back. It's going to be people like me and yourself, independently minded people.
That's it.
Noise.
That's it.
It's got to be noise when you're in the chamber.
I've got a quick question just before you come in, Jerry. Do you think it's managed decline in ward areas? Because like North Lanarkshire, there'll be areas in North Lanarkshire with pockets of deprivation and drug issues and various other things. Do you think it's managed decline within local authorities? Because you're saying in relation to South Ayrshire. Do you see that as that's what it is? Because if we look at the standard of investment that's coming to local authorities and what gets put into these areas that we know appear high on the SIMD index, and it's really areas of deprivation and poverty, are we doing enough?
What I've seen during my campaign, what I'm saying again, in North Ayr, it's very, very angersome and educational. And then when I see what I see in other words, and that's my main objective now, is to bring them up level a bit more equality within North Ayr, and I've already things started to move already. In the first week and a half I've been there.
Fantastic.
And I've spoke to people, but people know who I am. They know that I'm serious. I mean, I'm not saying a politician, I'll not say what he was, but he said to me the other day there in the corridor, Powers, you get everything sorted already. And with a smile like you're smiling at me. And I just, whatever you think. And this is the mentality of these politicians. And I'm not decrying them. I'm just stating a factual statement. That's the mentality of these people, and they should be. You're voted to represent the people to the best of your ability. And if you don't want to represent the people to the best of your ability, step aside. And that's me being honest with you. But see, next year at the Scottish Parliament, it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens. And I said that already, and I'll say it publicly again. It's time more independently minded people stood in the Scottish Parliament and shook it up. Because I believe that this is not just down in North Ayr, this is spread out throughout Scotland.
Country, I think.
People have had enough of politicians, and you don't need to harp on about your political party, because people are no interest in political parties, because all the politicians are interested. If you're an MSP, you're getting 72, if you're an MP, you're getting 93, if you're a councillor, you're getting 26.
You got a job in their offices, Wally. We've already covered this very point.
And that's all you're caring about. And if you get a portfolio, another 7,000, and you get a cabinet post, you get another 60,000.
The train,
and that's all they're caring about.
The choo-choo train.
And that's all they care about. If you're voted and you've been honoured to been elected to represent the people, you do it with pride and to the best of your ability. It's simple as that.
Do you know, one of the interesting things about local politics and local elections, and it was important in your election because your vote doubled effectively, and this is we do quite a wee bit of political education on this show as well, because most people don't know how
They don't care.
they don't know how local elections work. They certainly don't know how the Scottish parliamentary elections work. Two slightly different systems. You've got single transferable vote in local authorities, and you've got the D'Hondt system in Scottish Parliament. But if you're a popular local candidate who speaks the right way, says the right things, is transparent, doesn't hide behind party politics or party banners, even if you don't get the first vote, you might get somebody's second vote.
You could get,
or somebody's third vote, and eventually that's what carries you through to get to that threshold to get you elected.
I've thought about it in the last week more, so I did think about it for the Scottish Parliament next year, and the way I've looked at it is you could actually be voted in with a strong campaign, and because of my platform and my social media, this just makes me laugh.
Is this an announcement?
No. I'm an honest person. I see it how it
we
is.
nearly get Martin O'Neill on to do the Celtic announcement earlier on.
Right.
But if you've got a bigger bombshell, by all means.
And I've seriously thought about it next year, because I believe with my social media platform that I could have a chance. I'm not saying.
I agree. Well, to give you an idea of that, we like the sort of stats in relation to this kind of stuff. We're quite geeky on that.
Yes.
And we reckon anybody at all in the Scottish Parliament list will easily get in with about 16,000 votes. Easy.
And that's, see, the south of Scotland.
Yeah.
The south of Scotland, well, I've done my homework there recently. I think they get 2 south of Scotland MSPs were returned. Was it 2 or 3? And I think they only get 45. No, I don't think it was 45. If you do your stats and that, they didn't get in with a lot. It was the 2 MSPs, or was it 3 for the south of Scotland, and the last time with the Labour Party. So you don't
6 and 8%. We'll get you in.
So, and if you're in a strong enough campaign, but if you do what the Labour Party does and the SNP does and the Conservatives do, and put somebody first past the post on the list, you can't lose.
So there was an argument. We had Tommy Sheridan on a couple of weeks ago in relation to when he was first elected to the Scottish Parliament, and what he says was it was a rainbow parliament, and what he meant by that, Wullie, was he had Margaret MacDonald in there as an independent, he had a wad of other people like him, socialists coming through, minority groups. There was all sorts of people that was in that parliament. And I seen an interesting interview, I think it was about tail end of last year, I think it was with Alec Neil, and it was on STV, and Alec Neil's argument was, as the Scottish Parliament elections were fast approaching, that there should be more independent candidates within Holyrood because there's no diversity.
You see, it's people like Alec Neil, no disrespect to Alec, it's people like Alec who thwarted people to progress. And I'm not being disrespectful towards them as an individual, but people like-minded like Alec, through over the years, they've deliberately thwarted individuals to come through the ranks. And that they are actually the enemy of the ordinary people. But
again, I think that it's a shift in it. When you retire, you're free to say whatever you want. Obviously, there's potentially an agenda there, but again, I'm not that naive not to think that. But I thought it was an interesting statement that you've got an SNP party stalwart that's basically turning around and saying this is where it should be. He was
Scottish Labour Party one time too, and then he was Labour.
I know he was. It's quite fascinating sometimes to watch who jumps the dike in relation to whatever political parties becoming populist and guaranteeing you an election.
It's you find that, I mean, we're no longer in big party politics. We have our own parties, so there's about
I'm concentrating now myself going low. I've got an agenda now. My agenda is North Ayr, and to get conditions and things improved for North Ayr, and by hook or by crook, I'll do it the right. I'm going to try and do it the PC way, and I will do it the PC way if I've got to do other things. I will try my best for the people in North Ayr, because I've seen it over the last. What I done was at the campaign, the Labour Party on the announcement, they were straight away. They were quite naughty the morning. Don't know, they've got their printing companies quite quick actually. When it was announced the candidate was announced for the Labour Party, the following morning, 7 o'clock the following morning, there were a leaflet through my door. Right, so there was 7 o'clock in the morning, right. But the straight away their party machine moved in, and I said to the folk helping me, it's not late 2 or 3 weeks. He said, folk, it's a 6-week campaign, you folk are fed up it. So we were late 3 weeks before it, and then we'll do, and then the last 2 weeks, and then the last week, and that's what we did, and that's what we did.
So
timing's important.
We'd similar up here in Shotts when we stood a candidate up here. We had Anna Sarwar out, we had Jackie Bailey, I'm sure Jackie Bailey
Richard
was
Leonard.
Richard Leonard was there, Monica Lennon,
They were all
all
out.
of them were all up here, everybody was
Philton McGregor was out
but
as
it was
well.
quite comical. Anna Sarwar, it was quite comical. The Whitlets Victoria in the community doing it Whitlets, which is part of the ward. They done a photo. They've been doing the Annis went there with the candidate, and they done this great photo shoot and all this, and they put it in the local Ayrshire paper news, and it was on Facebook. And I think that I counted there were 60 comments, and there wasn't one good comment, and there were about 30 comments vote Wullie Hogg. Right. So, and then about 2 days later, the Whitlets Vooks in the community phoned me, contacted me, put a word out for me, and I said, how can I help you? Because I was very apprehensive, because they'd already done this. Well, could you come and see us? I said, I'm kind of apprehensive. What he's up to? You've already done with the that was a waste of time. Men in suits, that was the answer. I got men in suits, and we went and seen them, and great guys, and they boys were committed to their community, and they were interested in the community, and see the vibes we got for them. They knew fine. They weren't there.
Can I make an observation, right? And I followed your campaign from start to finish. I was fascinated by it, and the reason I was fascinated by it, because you actually gave me a wee bit of hope, Wullie. I'm not going to lie. In relation to local politics being taken over by local people, and it's about what's best for the communities and where you live. And one of the things that I noticed right away, and listen, I hope you're no bashful in this, was the community group's rapport and feeling for you.
I couldn't believe it. They reached out to me.
Yeah.
See every group I went to, I couldn't believe it either.
Staggering.
They reached out to me, and they said, and I said, and I'm going, I'll try. I didn't promise. The Harbour group reached out to me. The groups that reached out, I think there were about 6 different groups reached out to me, Wullie this and that. All different groups, and I'm going, they're all reaching out to me. I don't know. Because
it was lovely to watch.
I know, and I went to every group, and I'll tell you something. See, the day I went to the judo club, the day of the election, and I went to them, and this fella Charlie Stratton does a great job in the community with his judo club, and he reached out to me, him and his wife. I think his wife's name's Elaine. And great what they did in the community. And their 40 or 50 Waynes go there to their judo club, and they only take a token gesture. And I went, and the night of the election, there were only about 8 Waynes there that night. It wasn't. I said, it's all right, Charlie. See if I win, I'll come next week. And he'd contacted. He ran out after me where he stayed. He said, well, me and the wife don't vote, but we're voting for you.
That's brilliant.
And I went, and then see the other night there. See last Thursday night. I said, I'll come by after the election. I'll see what I can do. And I went in and Thursday night there to see him, and there were 50 Waynes there. And some of the parents recognised me, come up and they congratulated me, and Charlie said, thanks very much for coming back, Wullie. I said, look, of course I tell you to come back. And I said, what I'll tell you is this and now, I will work with you. I said, you know who I am now, you know how to contact me. If I can help you in any way, I will work with you. And I was in at Whitlets on Sunday afternoon when I was driving by, and I went to see them, and they're only in chat there with a couple of the Waynes, and I dropped him. He wasn't the one that I met, and he reckon, Wullie, how can I? He said, tell them I'm in, I'm looking for them, and I'll come in when he says, because I said, they tell me you were in, Wullie, and I can guarantee every group I went to, I will go and see, and I will work with to the best of my ability, and I'll help them. And that's what it was all about. The community reached out to me too. The people reached out, and they did, and there'll no ifs and buts about it.
It's absolutely refreshing, but as I said again, I don't know if it's a case that you're embedded in North Lanarkshire politics, so it's quite easy to become a wee bit cynical to a certain degree in relation to things. And the way we see groups, especially up in North Lanarkshire, quite a lot of them are either politicised, or loads of people do great work, but they're politicised, and it's one camp or the other.
Shouldn't be.
And you're looking and you're going, do you know what, when I seen your videos coming up in relation to the campaign, I'm going, well, there's that one, there's that one, there's that one, and it was just this entire feel of community that was all coming together to support a local candidate.
See the final day. See, it's humbling. It brings a lump to your throat sometimes what I've seen. Because bear in mind, I've been involved in politics most of my life, right?
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I was 17-year-old, I went to right to work marks for Liverpool to Blackpool for 10 days. So it's been in my system all my life, right? But I've seen the final day, me, Neil and Connor were out in the Muln with the PA system. The Muln's in there, a highly deprived area, I would say, and it's needing work done in it. And there's a big street, and I've got the speaker going, and this fella, and the A1 song, it's that AI, but I call it A1. One of my followers sent me 2 songs with the AI, but I'll call it A1, and they were great songs, the Wullie Hogg songs, right? And we were playing them, and the folk, we've been doing here High Street several times, and the folk whistling, shouting, beating their horn and everything. You've no idea the momentum it got, because folk was hoping you were raising the. I put life into it, and I've got to admit the independent leader of the council says to me, he's always been an independent councillor, which is a good thing. It's a good, because he's no politicalised. He's only a community-minded person. And he said, well, you've got this tune talking with this campaign of yours. He says, and I says, he said, you have one. He said, you've got the tune talking, you've put a spring in it. And we were driving down by the County Baldwins, which wasn't in the ward, and the High Street wasn't in the ward, but the way I looked at it was this: there are people from North Ayrshire in the tune show. So that's the way I looked at it. See
the cost, right? A lot of people are turned off by the cost of a campaign. Right? Our campaign was maybe, I think I spent about 1,300 quid.
No, I know. I'd be half. I'd be. My only loss was my wages, because I wasn't working.
Right.
I've just paid my leaflets yesterday. It was £224 for my leaflets, and I'm quite honest with you, I get 8,000 leaflets and only about 4,000 out.
Most of it was online, or just?
It was online, and my signs for my van, my 2 vans, and I think it was about 250. So I'm approximately, and then my fuel. So I'm approximately some £600.
Wow.
Brilliant.
£600. I would lose, but that's no cost. I wasn't working because I was campaigning. So for the final 2 weeks, day in, day out, that's what I did: campaign.
Now, do you know what? I think I would actually make a public statement tonight. If there's anybody in North Lanarkshire who's really interested in standing as an independent councillor, get in touch with Jerry and I. We could potentially help fund your campaigns to have more local independent voices, because that's what's needed, Wullie. That right there. And money shouldn't be the barrier to get involved in.
Money shouldn't be. No. You do the WhatsApp, GoFundMe page. But no, really, I definitely think it's a direction to go. I think more people will be looking at it. Decent people, you're not wanting you actually, in local politics, you don't want politicalised people, because I think it ruins it. And I think it makes it worse, because it means, I've spoke to all the political parties in the last week and a half in South Ayrshire, right? Well, 80% I've spoke to, right? Comfortably, right? And they're all like-minded. They're all thinking, blah, blah, but they're tied to their political party. And you say to yourself, but you shouldn't really be. You should be supporting local issues. And the budget, there's a budget coming up in South Ayrshire and all councils. And they're talking £25 million to be saved in South Ayrshire. And there's got to be things looked at and all that. So if there were all the councillors were to work collectively together, and never mind their party politics, it would be a better outcome rather than this political party saying we've got this, we've got that, and it's going to cause trouble.
You're going to enjoy the budget setting process, because
I was at a meeting the other day there where
you might have an idea that you will be playing an active
fruit, so to speak. You not even listen, potentially we could save money here, and then I'll shot a saving there. You let Jerry finish.
You'll go to your budget meeting, and the officers are going to give you a confidential document like that with maybe 12 pages covering education, active, creative and communities, roads and lighting and all the rest of it. And they've already picked out the areas that they decide will be cut in the percentage, and you get to choose.
I know.
That's it. It's not as if Wullie Hogg goes in and says, look, I want to cut 10% off the education committee. How do I go about it?
I worked with Cllr at Noon Valley Council 30 years ago, and I was active in the CLP down there and all that, right, in the Labour Party. And then the difference I've seen now and over the years is, it used to be the councillors that run the council, and it's now the officers, which I'm
sorry. Political disclaimer. He never actually says that. It was an AI voice. It was an officer. It's a standards commission complaint.
No.
Keep you safe.
Thank goodness.
Right, no. What I'm saying to you, when I 30 odd years ago was the councillors made the decisions, and it's all different now.
Of course it is.
Does that sound better?
Wullie, is it better now that councillors no longer?
Time will tell.
Well, personally speaking, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think you've lost a great deal in local politics. You don't, again, coming back to it, Willie, look, again, I think that's the bit I'm going to keep harping on about this, about the positive impact your campaign's had on a lot of people, even, as I said, a cynical individual like myself who watched a campaign that was locally, grassroots led, and then now all of a sudden we're looking at the prospect of going back into council elections in 2027, and it's going to be the mainstream political parties everybody's whipped. Yep. Or, in our case in North Lanarkshire, every one of the political opponents is paid. The leader of the council pays his opposition. So you're never going to jeopardise anything at all in relation to the leadership or the administration in case you get your wages
But I think
stopped.
the next council election is going to be that interesting, because there are that many different political parties, and then you're going to have that many independents. So there no, with this new system, there were never really any council with any overall control throughout Scotland, out the 32 local authorities, right? There are very few, I think, as actual one party dominance in any.
Here in North Lanarkshire, it's always traditionally Labour. So Labour is the ultimate sort of
powerhouse. The last that, but that's SNP.
SNP now transferred for Labour into the SNP, but again, the SNP's public sort of outface in relation to how they've delivered on Glasgow is not really that positive.
Moses was a boy.
Aye, when Labour
took over North Lanarkshire.
But the point in relation to the Labour Party here, you've got an individual who's held on, climbed on, grabbed on, shafted, cut throats, did everything else to retain that power for God knows how many years now.
Politically.
Yes. But again, that individual, we call him King Jong Jim because he's the supreme leader of North Lanarkshire. But the point being
President, in fact, of North
come that next council election, I agree with you, it's going to be a different makeup. You get the Rise of Reform, your party, the SNP, in my opinion, locally, especially in North Lanarkshire, they're done deal here. But again, if you look at the broad spectrum that could potentially come back in there is a real route map here for independent councillors along with other parts of Scotland.
Honestly, what I've seen and what I feel, as honestly independent-minded people, genuine independent-minded people. I've not been disrespectful to some of the fellow candidates in that by-election that stood against me. But I mean genuine, knowledgeable, who know their local community and know what it's all about. And you've got to know what your community is all about. You just can't come up with harebrained ideas. You've got to know what your community is all about.
But there's the question for you, Willie, right? So again, South Ayrshire is going to be completely different in North Lanarkshire in a number of aspects. Of course it is, in relation to the political makeup, what your standing orders of the council is, and all these different things, right? The rules that we all agree to be governed by. But what you have is when you've got a main political party that's in control and power and wants dominance, they change the rules and the goalposts of the game all the time, and they move them and they shift them. Whereas what's going to be interesting if we get to 2027 with an influx of independent councillors, how many are going to sit back, Jerry, and actually accept that you have a dominating force and they're going to be backed up by officers? Because what you'll be finding the news, especially if it's a case that you're being called in for meetings about ethical standards and that kind of thing in public life and all the rubbish that comes along with that. Listen, you're not alone. There's a few that have been thrown all that troubled water. But what I would say is the dynamic shift that would happen, because as it now stands right now, as Stephen Bonner MP said at that point in time before he lost his seat, Jerry, that North Lanarkshire Council is an officer-led council, so we work on that premise that the majority of councils are now officer-led. Really, in effect,
I don't think there's any doubt.
Are not going to accept the fact that things being officer-led.
My opinion, depends how many independents is there. If they've got an input, and what I mean, a political input, as in they've got the vote. And in South Ayrshire, they now were there 11 or 12 independents, and then you've 5 Labour, 5 SNP, and CGC 5 Tory. So, and previously in history in South Ayrshire, the Labour's always went with whoever they can to get. They've been in with the Tories, they've been in with the SNP. So some of these political parties will just get in bed with whoever they can to get power, no matter the cost, right?
That's it.
But if you have enough independence, maybe not allowed to be harmed.
It's a cushy number if you think about it. You take a leadership on, you get an additional whatever it is, so your wages get bumped from 26,000 up to 45, 50,000, 60,000. Then all your pals are all getting jobs with an extra 10, 20 grand on top of it. I mean, it is, if you can get it, it is a lot of money for doing very little. and that's
been like that for a while, mind you.
Aye, of course it is. Listen, of course it is.
But no, it's interesting times lie ahead. Independent, I believe, see people that are there are only 3 independent councils in South Ayrshire, really. The leader, the deputy leader, and myself. The rest were affiliated to the other political parties, and they've left and they've went independent or whatever, right? So really, at the end of the day, they're not really independent minded. Right? So the likes of me and the other 2 are really independent minded. The one of them has been 14 year of council, one's 21 year of council, and they've never been affiliated or aligned themselves with a political party. And they've done more good in that time than the affiliated, the political parties have done. And that's what I believe. The likes of, I mean, the feelers out with me to see where I stand now. But I think they know where I stand, right? And everybody knows where I stand. But it'll be interesting to see in 27. It depends how many independent people have got the vote to stand. And it's encouraging people to prove that it is achievable and you can do it. And there is a road there for the independent-minded candidates. And next year will be very interesting with the Scottish election. How many come forward?
Yeah, I agree.
I think there needs to be a cultural shift as well. And in that respect, South Ayrshire isn't unlike North Lanarkshire.
No,
they're all the same. They're all the same.
Well, so
communities are really the same. That's the difference. All right, we've got differences, but
the scandal thing exists in both areas. So there's been scandals in North Lanarkshire. There's been scandals in South Lanarkshire, South Ayrshire. Sorry, certainly around procurement and stuff like that. Like, what would you do to kind of change that mindset of contracts or jobs for pals and all the rest of it? How would you go about changing that? Because that kind of murky mindset exists within
I keep going back to
the electorate.
Transparency. You've got to have accountability and transparency. You have to make sure that the people are appointed to do these contracts, the procurement contracts, as the right people. And what I mean, you're scrutinised, and I mean scrutinised. And it's like, I'm not going to have the subject here, but right, but
that's your job. I mean, that's your key job.
I'll give you an example, body. Right? I'm self-employed, right? And I get into price of job and all that, right? Now, you're put in a position of trust, and a lot of companies, and it's the same level. And these companies, they pontificate to be a trusted trader, right? So the figurehead of the head of the company is a trusted trader, but see the siblings round about it, they're no trusted traders. And that's the same with local government. So you can have the head of the department a trusted trader, but the people all round about who's awarding the contracts, are they trusted traders? Have they been vetted? That's where it comes back to. It filters back to make sure that these people are fit and proper persons to be involved in awarding contracts and so on. Do
you think that you'll be able to impact on that and affect that as a councillor?
Well, give it a bash.
Listen, if I see something, I'll question it with the appropriate bodies. And the good thing about it is that everything's monitored into email, and they're a record, they're a paper tray.
They all keep everything until they need to use it. Well,
so, and that's
information requests.
And I'm being very, very vigilant now, because I am keeping a very, very strong paper, because I know they're a big target in my back, because I've upset the apple cart, and I realise that. But as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm vigilant, and people will be aware of that around about me, they will be vigilant, so that you maybe get better service fee.
I would hope so.
Wullie, we've got a similar situation here in North Lanarkshire. In my opinion, North Lanarkshire Council's never had any real sort of critical scrutiny. Now, don't get me wrong, there has been previous, I don't want to do a disservice to the councillors that have came before us in relation to, we've got a big contract, the Mears contract, worth £1.8 billion. And within our group, Progressive Change, we were the only group that actually looked at the proper scrutiny, so much so that we ended up being called as witnesses to a high court case. And our concern and absolute shock lay in the fact that ultimately there was no leadership. There was absolutely none. The leader of the council was nowhere to be seen on anything. Then all of a sudden we get to the roads element of that enterprise contract, and we're reading in the paper there was a £34 million out of a court settlement. We're asking the leader of the council, are you going to make a comment? Are we getting a statement on this? This is absolutely scandalous. There he goes, he's away again. But you get into a committee and you try to raise an amendment, oh my goodness, he's very quick to jump on right there and then, Jerry.
We had 14 years, right, to gather together a procurement arrangement that could deal with the biggest award of a contract to a local authority in Scottish history, and we ended up giving it to a single bidder. There was one bidder for that. So that tells me immediately that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And
so there were no other tenders in?
No, none.
There was none.
None.
So you got £1.8 billion contract and
nobody else wanted it.
Nobody wants that £1.8 billion. That's too complicated.
And when you go and try and scrutinise that, then that's when things become
But you're saying
very
you
murky.
have appropriate channels, and there is appropriate channels out there. You have Audit Scotland, and you have other quangos that are set up in relation.
What do Audit Scotland say when you take issues to them?
Yeah, we had a meeting with Audit Scotland, didn't we? About a 3 hour meeting with Audit Scotland, laying out our evidence and red flags and everything else. And we highlighted the fact that, by the way, look, listen, this is all these things. You know, Audit Scotland says to us, thanks very much for that. We're no inclined to tell you what we're going to do next. Nor do we have to report.
We don't need to.
We don't need to do anything. But lo and behold, Chief Officer for Audit and Risk within the council just vanished.
Disappeared
in a
into
puff of
thin air.
smoke. Vanished. No goodbye, golden handshake, nothing.
I totally understand what lies ahead for us. They're going to be interesting times.
Well, we're just interested in the comparison of local
Absolutely.
authorities.
Listen, there are things happening in South Ayrshire will educate me too.
Aye.
And I'll find out as I go along.
See if you come. See in 2 years or so, if we're still doing this, we'll get you back for Wullie Hogg Part 2.
Well, see, quite honestly, I've been the last week and a half. It's all been my social media. They're obsessed with my social media, and quite rightly so, because it is quite a strong platform, right? And what I can say and what I can't say. So my actually, it's like planes, trains, and automobiles. My head at the problem in time, because I don't know what I can actually say is correct and what's wrong. You with me?
Right.
Because.
So again, it comes down to that culture of fear, Wullie. That's what it comes down to.
And I'm not going to lie to you, because I'm trying to do a bit of good in my community.
Aye.
And at the same time, I don't want to shut the doors I want to open the doors. I don't want them shutting me. But I totally understand what you're saying.
Aye, you have within the council framework, you'll have your chief executive, you'll have the council's monitoring officer, you'll have all these chief officers, and everybody will come at you with a position of force. I don't know how many times I've been threatened with a standards complaint, and I've had one successfully taken against me, although I should have won the appeal. But anyway, we'll not go into that. But the point that I would make here is in relation to the council's monitoring officers. Right? And the council's monitoring officer, well, he's there to give you advice, not to give you instruction. And the point that I would make is when these individuals are entering into, because that is ultimately what they're entering into a political sphere. And really, because ultimately what you're there to do is get into a committee, say to the committee, look, listen, I'm not happy, North Ayrshire needs this and this and this. I believe it's managed decline. However, this is what my thoughts are. We want these services. You should have the ability to do that. That shouldn't be deemed as a personal attack on an officer.
No.
But what we're seeing now is a culture where officers are able to take standards commission complaints against elected members. Now, that's two reasons in that, in my opinion. Well, in this, again, you can agree, disagree. It's to protect the status quo, the political administration, potentially.
We're the leader in North Lanarkshire Council.
If you find the money available, right, and you find the money as an elected member, and you find the money available there as to a project, they've got to, they're duty bound, in my opinion.
Yes, they are. That would be my opinion. But
that's my opinion.
Unfortunately, that's not the way it works, because what they do is they then look for opportunity to say that Wullie Hogg is personally attacking an officer, or Wullie Hogg is, and then you'll go to the lovely Standards Commission for Scotland, which is another separate episode. He's been an absolute kangaroo.
And what the Standards Commission will say was, even if you weren't critical against that officer, a member of the public could perceive that you were being, and that's enough. That's enough for them to say, okay.
So it's like a breach of the peace. If they can't do you on what your charges for, they're going to get you in a breach of the peace. So that's basically the trickery of it all.
Well, you seen my campaign. So if I was to my campaign, you seen my campaign.
Yep.
So if I was to enact everything in my campaign, I'd never be away for this. You with me, everything I said in it. And I realise that.
They've got a meagre budget. They'd run out of money.
Aye,
They
can't
wouldn't
touch
be
you
able
on
to
that
cope
because you
with.
weren't elected at
No,
that
that's
point.
what
So
I'm
that's that. That's that.
No, but it is, and listen, boys, I'm telling you now, I'm sitting to say to myself, if I
They're
didn't.
not trying to dissuade you.
No, I've read these thoughts. I've been honest with you. And the way up the car, I was saying the way up the car, blah blah blah. We'll see what I'm like in a year and a half's time, and we'll see what it's like in a year and a half's time. Because if I'm not going to make progression, there's no point in continuing.
There has to be a groundswell.
You need- I disagree.
I
disagree with-
groundswell independent voices.
I disagree with that, and Greg and I have had this conversation as well, because it's easy then to become deflated, and you say, I'm going to walk away from this. We need to expose it. We need to expose it for
that's
what
what
it
we're at,
is, so that people understand it.
You can't expose it if you've not got the platform today, and
You've got the platform, though. You've got your TikTok and your Blackboard. That's all you need. And a tannoy to run about the streets telling them what's going on.
I know. No. Listen, my social media in the last 28 days have had 2.3 million views, and people watch it, and I don't know.
They're switching off Coronation Street.
I know. No, it's good, and it does well, and it highlights it, and people are very aware of it, and it does open doors for you, and it makes people be very cautious, and I will get more things done than maybe an independent councillor.
You're an anomaly, Wullie. You're an anomaly, and you're an anomaly in such as if you were a normal wee independent councillor, right, and you didn't have that platform, I'm sure the treatment that you would receive in relation to being a councillor in North Ayrshire would be vastly different to the treatment that you would get in relation to your massive social media following. And I think that, again, where we are is we're entering into new territory politically, because you've got the rise of councillors with a brain, in my opinion, and those who can free think out with the party whip system. So yourself, us, others who go out their way to try and educate their electorate, they try to go out their way to have that conversation and make sure discussion is happening locally, and I think that's completely unusual.
Can I ask you a silly question just when you're talking there, right? I've just thought about it today there, right? I'm about the county balls the last week and a half, and I've seen all the different staff, ordinary staff, folk like myself, and they're coming up and they're going, Councillor Hogg, and I said, no, it's Wullie, right? And I say, call me Wullie and all this, and they're going, and they look at me as if to say, oh right,
It's unusual.
and I say, no, it's Wullie, don't be so stupid.
Right.
And I done a video, I done a video months ago with a local contractor, and I presented him a high-vis vest, but it was a kid size, and he didn't know I was presenting it to him, right?
Aye.
And I met his daughter the other day there in the county bowling, and she came up and said, Councillor Hogg. I said, aye. She said, I'm such and such. I said, come here. I said, yeah, my name's Wullie, don't be so stupid, right?
Aye.
And she walked away because she was shocked.
Aye.
And I think that's a lot to do with the barrier to what you're talking about, getting respect and getting, and I think that goes all the way up the tree.
It does.
And the worst elected members, I'll not say them because I don't want to decry my fellow councillors, is the ones that come from your own background, want to be called councillor.
Yeah.
And these are the people you're talking about that I think that they can create the biggest problems for people like myself, independents, because they've no respect.
No.
You see what I'm saying?
So, again, I think what you've touched on there is something that's really quite fascinating. Jerry and I came for the SNP, it's no secret in that. And again, our politics has been in that party. And what we found when we stood in 2022, there was a lot of new people, people that you'd not really seen before. Again, I had a running mate in that campaign that I'd never met. She was, again, no idea where she came from, no idea if she ever even attended a branch meeting. But what she did have was a relationship with another councillor and his wife, who became a councillor. And it's the freeway great friendship. Now, the issue that exists here, in my opinion, is you had individuals coming through who had an ego without doing anything for it. So they all of a sudden wanted that title of
because
councillor.
they're academics.
And no, I wouldn't even say they're academics. Well, I'd say it's mediocrity that is took on a different guise.
There one time in Glasgow Council, many years ago, in the Stephen Purcell area.
That's right, aye.
There was an account I went through it boringly one night, and there were, if I remember right, there were 8 solicitors in Glasgow City Council, 8. And I says to them, so how can a solicitor who's a highly
As a councillor?
as a councillor, has the time
Yeah.
and effort. And there were 8. I maybe be wrong there, but I boringly I went through
Aye.
because at the time I was heavily involved, and I like to know who I'm dealing with. And that's
Aye.
another thing.
Aye.
I like to know who
Aye.
I'm dealing with,
Aye.
and I'll do my research.
Aye.
Because you with me?
Aye.
And I've spoke to other councillors over the years, and they're sitting next to somebody in meetings. They don't even know what they do for a living with their job.
Aye.
And I'm going, you're dealing with these people. You want to know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So we're 8 at one time in Cllr. But anybody listening maybe correct me in that. And that was in the Stephen Purcell era.
Aye.
And then also a lot of the councillors at that time were on Quangos.
Aye.
That was the time when the Quangos were king.
Aye.
You with me?
Right.
So, and it was making them all get about 60,000 a year.
Aye.
Yeah, and at the time,
And you wonder why.
and they were all academics, and I'm saying to myself, how can they represent, how can they monitor
Yeah.
what's going on?
Yeah.
They can't monitor. And what you're saying about accountability and monitoring, that's concerning.
Shocking.
And I think we're still in that kind of era at times, and I don't know, not so much in South Ayrshire,
Aye.
but in the bigger councils, I think it is kind of.
Jerry and I enter committees now, and we can give an example. Housing Committee, £157 million was up for contracts. 157 million. There was about 32 councillors at that committee.
40.
40 councillors at that committee. The only 2 people who asked a question all the way right through that agenda was him and I. Not one councillor asked a question in that committee.
And that was to do with the contracts.
That was to do with the contracts. And you're looking and you're going,
And one company get it.
no, no, this time.
No.
No, this time. There was a staggered.
It's the issue. For us, it was the issues around what councils actually pay per unit.
Yeah.
And you'll get to know this.
You'll get all that.
Because-
No, I've had that. Mate. I was an observer in the Labour group many years in South Ayrshire, and I sat at a meeting one night, and there was a senior councillor. She's no longer there, and we're discussing, and she was saying, no, that everything's monitored with the council. And I said, look, Helen, it's no. I said, right, I'll give you an example. See if I go and cut a tree down somebody's garden, I'll take £50. See if it's a council and the council are paying me, I'll take £250.
Well, there you go.
He says, and he said, I said, that's the way it works, and we need to monitor that.
Well,
no, they're paying the right money. Helen, listen to what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. The way it works with the council, if you're doing a council contract, you're rubbing your hands.
Wullie.
And that's the most contractors think.
In North Lanarkshire, a 2-bedroom flat to buy on the open market is about 90 grand. To build one, a brand new one, a council one, costs you close to 300,000. So that's and that's going through the fair procurement rules. That's going through the framework.
So what Jerry and I believe now is procurement's no longer fit for purpose. We're buying
doing us in.
economy of scale, and it's no longer beneficial. It used to be that it enabled local authorities
Absolutely.
to buy cheaply because you were looking in bulk and you were looking at mass.
300,000.
No economies of scale.
No economies of scale anywhere. It's
Motherwell.
It's tipped the other way now, but it's in a detriment to
And it varies, but there's one in Motherwell, a project in Motherwell at the moment. It's a renovation of an older building. We own the ground, so there's no ground cost for it. Services are all in, drainage is all in, sewers are all in. £295,000 per flat.
How many flats is that?
25.
25, something like that, aye.
That's a lot of houses in Malta.
So these are the questions that we ask, but nobody else wants to ask because the bigger parties don't want to talk about it. The administration, if Labour, who are in administration in North Lanarkshire, they just want to get the word out.
Aye.
We've got these lovely new flats, that's fine.
Shiny.
The SNP don't want to talk about it because they've got their own targets, and they're saying, well, we're funding these social housing projects to an extent, so they don't want to talk about it either. And we're just going, are we getting value for money? Are we protecting the public pound? Is £295,000 just a wee bit too much for a flat?
Listen, I've never heard those sort of partly. I know what's involved in all that, and that's what I'm saying. And the thing I've just got to maintain is my independent minded thinking and keep away with the political sides of the mainstream political parties. But at the same time, highlight what the political parties, the mainstream political parties, is all about. Because they're not about the people. They are not about they're about money. And it's local politics is about people. And that's the important thing.
Do you think the North Ayrshire election result was a message, Wullie? Do you think that was a clear message for the people of South Ayrshire?
Without doubt, I'm telling you now, I know people. One of my supporters, he's changed his profile photo to me at the lecture at the podium. That's how much he thinks of it. And that's what people think about it. It's a message to. I mean, people have. I mean, I was getting my photograph taken the other day there, and the photographer was saying they're talking about you in this building. Well, it's odd they can talk about you in this building. He said, well, that's good they're talking about me, because if they're talking about me, they're racing and highlighting the issue. So they must look in the mirror and say, right, we better be careful here. We better watch what we're doing here. Because if this man is what he's like in his videos,
well, he starts talking about anything at all that's happening.
That's what I'm saying. So.
Dangerous man. You could be a dangerous man.
Seismic, and I keep saying seismic, and I mean that with sincerity. In 2027, if I'm still here and I'm still got the appetite, I'll stand again. But you never know, maybe we're standing somewhere there.
Scottish Parliament, you might be in the Scottish Parliament.
Really, there's food for thought there with the Scottish Parliament. And I'm saying to anybody listening out there is food for thought out there. And I mean that with sincerity. There is, because people, I know all the local politicians in my, as you know all your politicians up here. So you know they're sell-by date.
I don't rate any of them, Wullie, if I'm being honest with you. I think they're all shysters and chancellors. They find themselves in a position, especially if you look at who we've got. Two government ministers. No one gets sacked for his government minister role because he threatened Douglas Ross, didn't he? Jamie Hepburn.
He had to stand down from his ministerial position.
In charge of the health, sort of NHS.
Yeah, he's the
health minister,
the cabinet secretary.
His wife's a school teacher, and then he was defending. And I know frontline teachers who are bursting at the seams. The schools are bursting at the seams.
I agree.
And I watched him one night in one of the question probes, and he said there's nothing wrong with schools, and his wife's a school teacher.
Wow.
And that's very, very concerning. In fact, and if I was a vandal, I threw a brick at the telly. But that gets me angry, and that's what we need. We need a yes or no answer for politicians.
I agree.
And see this, I say, see when a politician says you don't understand, there should be a government health warden, walk away. Do not listen to a politician that says you don't understand, because once they say you don't understand, that means they're lying to you. I'm sorry. So if a politician stands and says to you don't understand, Wullie, walk away, because they're lying to you, and you should have the right to do that.
So again, I'm just fascinated, Wullie, because again I just come back to this. As I said, I think I've said it in countless occasions tonight. Your campaign was absolutely brilliant to watch. As somebody who was neutral in just watching it grow arms and legs.
Oh, it was brilliant.
It was brilliant, honestly, and it was refreshing for me. Do you think the fact that not only you're rooted in the local area, but the fact that you're a local businessman in the area?
I'm not that. I'm only myself, kid, a wee businessman.
Listen, there's no disrespect to that, by the way. There's no disrespect.
But I'd need to have a good fence up. But
I just want to know if you got that drill working.
Aye.
Did you get it working?
I did. No, but it's hard to explain. But see, my work, I have a high standard of work in my work, so that reflects who I am as a person. I'm not a cowboy. I can look anybody in the face. I maybe say I'm dear, but I've never robbed anybody in my life and overcharged anybody in my life. I'm the dafty that'll give the pension or something half or the extra and all that. Because it's the right thing to do. You with me? I've got a 95-year-old customer wanting trellis, and I tried to explain to the lady, you're 95 years of age, what you want trellis to watch Clematis climb up? I was trying to be honest with her. Don't want to take her money. You with what I'm saying? So, and I think a lot today is my sincerity and my honesty shines through. And that's that. And unfortunately, see some of these politicians now, their sneeziness and their smarminess, that shines through now. It shines through terrible. They stand there and they'll lie to you barefaced. It's like Grangemouth is closing.
I know.
And it's not going to close.
No. We're going to keep it open. We're going to keep it open.
Watch my lips. No austerity. You with what I'm saying? Rather than stand up after saying these things, I got it wrong, I'm sorry. See the respect you would get for the people. And that's the difference. And that's where my campaign, I never promised anybody anything. And I told the truth and I said I'll try my best. And that's what I'm saying. The politicians go out there and barefaced lie to you. And
do you know something for the electorate, Wullie? I think that's something that's appreciated, that somebody will try their best. I don't think people are looking for answers and everything. I just think they're asking for somebody to be a wee bit genuine.
Even if you can't get them the outcome that they want, if you can explain to them that you've worked as hard as you can. God knows how many.
And we've never promised a thing. But you know what? I'm standing side by side with you.
Well, what I do since I've been elected, and it's only a week and a half, I've been in about 10 houses. What a day, folks send me an email. But they even got my photo wrong, but I'm not telling you about that. they got my photo wrong on the website. Anyway, that's another story. Anyway, and I go to the people's door and chap the door. And I've been to about 10 doors already. And I chap the door, say who I am. In fact, I don't need to say who I am because I know who I am. And I said, I'm replying to your email. And they actually look at me in shock to say, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm here to see you about it. And I get it and I take their details and it's right, I'll get back to you. And I chase it up. And they're no used to that. They're no used to that.
No.
And you keep that going. I mean, that's...
Oh, no, I'll never stop that.
That's the way to do it.
That's what I'll do. I'll keep going to people and going to their door and chapping their door. And you get the respect for the people.
Absolutely. Right, we've not got long left.
I think you've literally got a minute left.
Right, I've got some quick fire questions for him. Right.
Is this the right to catch me out?
No. Favourite place in South Ayrshire? Where is it?
Well, it used to be a pub, but it's no new. It used to be a pub, Billy Bridges, but no new. I'm teetotal now. I've never drank for 2 years.
All right. Most underrated local business or spot in Ayr North?
Oh God, it's hard. It's a little bit. The most underrated, I would say, because if I go to the Cllr, Glenamber Subs. It's a small business with 20 employees. A great guy. He started in his garage in his garden, so he did, and he's now 20 employees, and he's a good employer and he's a good guy. So
good
he is.
Man.
Alan Matthews.
There you go. Best bit of advice you ever had?
Never listen to a politician.
Don't eat yellow snow.
Never listen to a politician.
Describe your community in one word.
It's screaming for help. Screaming.
It
is screaming.
Wullie Hogg, this is you. Thanks very much. Your rules up, but honestly, I think that's one of the fastest interviews you've ever had with anybody. It has been an absolute pleasure, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
I'll come back in a year if I'm still here.
Listen, you've got an open spot in this place. I can assure you, you're more than welcome back at any point. Wullie, thanks so much for joining us.
And these mics will be turned off once we stopped the day yesterday, but we'll be kept going.
We're about to do it now. Jerry and I will be back after the break. And Jerry, I want to come back and talk about that. What was it?
Communities Committee. Yes. Lots of fun.
Jerry.
Lots of fun to cover.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
Wullie says hello this Monday morning, Low Road, Whitlets, right in the ward. Says hello for Ayr Racecourse here today. Now look, there's the last horse in. I'm down here at Ayr Racecourse. I'd just like to thank everybody that voted for me firstly. I'm not going to say hello, believe it or not. I think you'll all be surprised at that. I'd like to thank all the council staff, the officers, the police and everybody that's voted for me and supported me. I'm actually kind of speechless at this very moment in time because nobody said I would win it and it was quoted I'd only get 10% of the vote.
And welcome back to What's the Point? Jerry, my goodness, Wullie Hogg, who's just left the studio. We could have blared all night.
A very interesting guy and
a fantastic guy, I must admit. Do you know something? If you watch Wullie's videos on TikTok or on social media in relation to the campaign, that is exactly who was here tonight. It was the same guy.
But it's exactly the way to fight campaigns now. We've spoken about this over a number of months about the desire in communities for another way of politics.
Yeah.
And what Wullie's just gave us the blueprint for that.
Again,
certainly for independent councillors.
That point, Jerry, because I think it's an important point. If there is anybody at all even remotely considering, and I understand why, I think me and you are gluttons for punishment, or we're sadomasochists to a certain degree, because ultimately we're torturing ourselves with being an elected member in North Lanarkshire. But really, in effect, if you want to do some good in your local community, you want to get out there, you want to actually do something, make that difference.
And I genuinely believe he does.
And I do as well. Get in touch with Jerry and I. You can get in touch with us via TikTok, social media, or else even through the radio station itself. We would love to hear from you, because ultimately, as I said at the beginning of Wullie's interview as well, if it's a case that money is the barrier for you standing, get in touch with us. We would happily look at ways to fund your campaign, because ultimately what this is about is putting local democracy back in the hands of the people that deserve to hold it.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do. I can't tell you what a song you do. It's your turn.
£500.
Exactly.
£500 and the man's elected.
But the point that would make is, you and I came through an SNP group, Jerry, where, and let's not mince our words, it was probably exactly the same within the Labour group. That there was a mad clamber in relation to that 2022 election, grab anybody and everybody. And I'm not going to lie, you look at Alan Stubbs within the SNP group, his wife got elected in that election, Lisa Stubbs, and then all of a sudden the best pal Joanne Kelty got elected in there on my ticket, might I add. And by the way, I'm responsible for that. I owe my community a debt and an apology in relation to that, because I endorsed that candidate. Now again, they get in my second preference votes. The point of it being here is, Jerry, that political parties are disservicing local communities, and I think that's something that has to be addressed.
No, I mean, I think we had Robbie McKendrick in here in his ward.
Yep.
The name McKendrick is synonymous with independent councillorship. His dad before him, and Robbie now carrying that through. Wullie could well be the South Ayrshire seems to be an outlier in terms of the number, or the percentage number of independent councillors. They've got more independent councillors than there are aligned party councillors, or close to it. That's just not something that we would be used to.
Do you know what? He provided me some sort of refreshment tonight, Jerry, and I think he's renewed my optimism in relation to local communities taking ownership and actually trying to elect somebody that's going to represent them. And again, as I've said before, I've stood up for my area countless occasions, even against the party whip, and in relation to my own detriment. That is what you're elected today. This isn't about standing there for the benefit of Greg Lennon. It's standing there for the benefit of the people that put you in that position.
Absolutely.
And as I said again, with Wullie being on the night, I actually was as happy. I'm going to give you an analogy here. I seen a photo the night of a former MP, Stephen Bonner, who was in a picture with Martin O'Neill, and he was extremely ecstatic of being in that picture. I think my wee picture with Wullie tonight is definitely something I'm quite ecstatic about, Jerry.
No,
I think I share that same optimism.
He is the picture boy of local politics.
The smile when I was interviewing Wullie, I think it's exactly the same sincerity that was on the smile of Stevie Bonner's face with Martin O'Neill.
And he's got a wee glint in his eye as well. He's a bit of a character.
Let's get on to the subject matter that I want to go into now, Jerry, and that's that Communities Committee. And in the Communities Committee, for you good folk listening at home, there was a point of contention in agenda item 5, which was a community asset transfer.
Got to share this with you as well. Now, I don't know why this was the case, but the eagle-eyed members of the public who went on to look at the agenda pack will have found that agenda item 5 wasn't on it. It was only sent to those members of the committee.
All right.
And it was sent later on at the end of last week. So the agenda pack online, we had agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7, but no agenda item 5 for whatever reason it was.
So let me get this straight as well, Jerry. So community asset transfers, rather than going to full council, where all 77 members have an opportunity to decide on whether or not a council land or building is surplus, and it's to go out to a local community group, is sitting within a committee of how many councillors?
In that committee, goodness, Greg, I'm only a new member of the Communities Committee, so I'm not sure if it's a 25 or a 40, I've got to be honest. I think it's 25.
Now, I'm not taking away for the organisation that put forward that community asset transfer. I didn't know them personally. I know
ultimately they were successful.
Aye, they were successful, and rightly so, but the point I would make here in relation to this, and this isn't any slant on them as an organisation, if you look at how that agenda item was taken, and it was Jim Redden, Councillor Jim Redden, who was the chair that day. I think he's the vice chair of that committee. But if you look at how that was taken, that agenda item, and make a comparison to a couple of weeks ago to that policy and strategy committee, which I attended, Jerry, and I submitted an amendment, and you look at, was their amendment the Labour group's amendment to basically break us down for people at home? It was the group was refused by officers in the report that they were not to get the community asset transfer. But the Labour group and its deputy leader put forward an amendment to say, no, it's to go ahead.
They did.
So, within that amendment, was due process followed? That's the question. And when I had the opportunity to do a wee comparison earlier on, Jerry, and take a look at the two videos and make a comparison, then my goodness, it couldn't have been starker.
It was actually, I was going to comment about the way that agenda item had been managed, because like you, I had attended the Policy and Strategy Committee when your amendment was put forward. Right. So what happened at the Policy and Strategy Committee was, it was absolute bonkers, actually, right? So the report, this governance report about a governance review, a really important piece of work, and I know we've spoken about this, but it was to review all the governance around standing orders, delegation of powers to officers, etc. So that report would be known as the motion, right? That would be the motion that's brought to committee, and there's a recommendation from the author of that report, and it was the monitoring officer. So generally speaking, you would speak to the motion, you would speak to the report, and officers would talk and answer questions put forward by elected members. And strangely, at Policy and Strategy, the leader of the administration, Kim Young Jim, decided that they were going to bring forward your amendment first. And the first thing that Jim did was to bring in the monitoring officer to find out if your amendment was actually competent.
Now,
right?
What was the three criteria of that competency?
Doesn't matter what
it does matter, because the three criteria of the competency test that was stipulated to me was based on cost to the council, this, that and the next thing, and then all of a sudden with a community asset transfer where they're saying that there's no cost associated with it. Of course there's a cost associated with it. Your amendment was never going through, son. Let's just be perfectly honest. I'm no sore on that either, Jerry, not at all. But to Jim Redding's credit, training must have worked. Jim Redding allowed the motion group. He allowed the motion to go through, right, to be discussed, for questions to be asked, and then Louise Rorty funnily enough, decided that she was going to bring forward an amendment. I've got a wee recording it here. Do you really? I'm going to play it and we'll do the comparison.
Colleagues, item 5, community asset transfer request from Rural Rest. Leanne.
Thanks, Convener. So the purpose of this report is to provide the Communities Committee with details of a community asset transfer request relating to an area of Cecil Street in Coatbridge, as outlined at Appendix 1 of the report. The application is being made by Rural Rest and the report comments. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Rorty.
Thank you, Chair. I have submitted an amendment. Do you want to circulate it? Do you want me?
Look how cordial that is.
Did you get a chance to speak to your amendment?
Get a chance to speak to Jerry. There's more. Wait, you hear this? How cordial.
To speak to it just now while this has been circulated. This CAT transfer lease application explicitly cites the LOUP priorities on mental health and poverty, with commitments to low-cost access, basic budgeting and employability pathways.
Just to clarify, there's costings there, Jerry.
But wait a minute, Craig, surely we need to get the monitoring officer to
well, you would think so.
To tell us whether or not the amendment
Well, you're not even kicking off with the amendment. We don't even know whether or not that's been submitted 24 hours prior to that committee either, Jerry. We don't know that. But funnily enough, I've submitted a wee freedom information request. I thought you might. Let's continue.
Its use and enhancement of local green space, biodiversity actions contributing to net zero.
Got a seconder for that?
I second it.
Now the difference here again within this committee, Jerry, and your committee, they open up to questions. What's that about? Imagine opening up to points.
Councillor Jim Redding is to be commended.
My goodness, that training's definitely worked for the conveners. Right, we're going to go.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is certainly a worthwhile initiative. I know how invaluable these organisations and projects are.
Given that I see that its financial information was very weak, could you just elaborate a wee bit on that, Stephen?
Thanks, Chair. That's great.
Anyone else? Councillor McBride.
Thanks very much. It's just sort of a.
Anybody else? No, we have an amendment here.
Anybody otherwise minded, Jerry, vote by acclaim on the amendment.
There you go.
My goodness.
That's how it's done.
Jerry, I like a comparison. So, let's listen to this one before we go into the big so, because this is what happened with the other amendment, Jerry. Wait, hear this.
Can we move on then to item 9, the review of the Council's Democratic Committee and decision-making governance procedures? I've been advised that Councillor Lennon, in accordance with Standing Order 25, has submitted an amendment. Can I ask committee services to hand out the amendment, please? And Mark, could you ensure that all members who join online have access to the amendment as well?
That difference in a starting, Jerry.
Why are we not talking about the motion? Yeah. Why are we not allowing the officers to give us the background on the report?
I would think that would just be a standard, Jerry, but let's continue.
Let's go.
Read it. Monitoring officer to advise me in terms of, as I said, Standing Order 31. Does this meet the criteria of competency, relevancy and affordability? Rachel, please. Sorry, I'm told that something's come up online. Members online.
Councillor Logue, I'm happy to hear what Rachel has to say while we wait on that. Very happy to hear that in the first instance.
If a member has not had sight of it, are you happy to hear the monitoring officer, or do we wait until every member has had sight of the amendment? Can I have some feedback, please?
Two very stark committees, Jerry. Two very stark amendments. Now, don't get me wrong, the amendment that I put forward was quite detailed.
It was quite detailed.
It was looking at the governance review in North Lanarkshire Council and how much power officers have and how much a say does the electorate have in relation to their right to protest and submit petitions and various other things. Whereas Louise Rorty's was one line. It was, we support the group and overturn the officer decision. So it was one line in there to basically give that away.
Any reasonable individual who would watch that back and would be able to draw the distinction between both conveners and how they managed the very same situation. Yeah. So it's just that there's a motion's been put to council, an amendment's been made, and what we saw was that one convener, Councillor Jim Redden, and I genuinely mean this to his credit, he in the best spirit of debate
and good faith
allowed the motion to be heard. He then allowed an amendment from the floor. We don't know if it met the 24-hour rule yet that was imposed by the Labour group, but we'll find out. And he allowed individuals to speak to that before putting it to a vote.
And for officers to brief the members and the reason and the rationale behind their decision.
One might ask whether or not it was designed by the convener of the Policy and Strategy Committee to do everything in his power to ensure that your motion or your amendment did not get any airtime at all.
There is a lot of discussion, right, about officer power in North Lanarkshire and how much power do they have.
Well, that's what that governance review was really about.
Well, of course it is, and that was the reason for the amendment. But what I would highlight here is, have we seen a shift in Labour and in its leader? Because ultimately that had to have been approved by him. They had to have that amendment ready for him to have Louise put it through and push it through. And if you look at the questioning, although what must have been, honestly, it would have been hilarious if we were still part of the SNP group, because they would have been spitting feathers in relation to the individuals involved in that group putting that forward.
No doubt.
Now, point being is, Jerry, in relation to those councillors in that chamber, Councillor McBride, Councillor Rorty, others who contributed in that. Is that them trying to show that they can overturn an officer's decision? Because again, it's a wee bit of flexing a muscle here. Or do you think it's a case that the leader of the council made that many promises to those that run that group that they were going to get this, and really in effect it backfired a bit?
It goes back to what Wullie is saying. It goes back to Wullie's point. What we need are individuals in councils who are not party aligned,
100%,
who can vote with their conscience and for their communities,
100%.
And in effect, every committee for them is a quasi-judicial one, because they can look at the information that's presented and they can make a determination based on their own thoughts and feelings.
Well, here's a question for you, because Wullie had highlighted there as well that again within South Ayrshire, the leader of the council is an independent, the deputy leader's an independent, Wullie's new added in there. Could you imagine if it was independents in charge of your council? The only one that I would trust would be Robert McKendrick. He's the only one that seems to have any integrity. If you take Alan Beveridge, for talk's sake, again, Alan Wall was voting in favour of the administration. We've seen the ACC stuff, if you remember, with all the community centre closures and everything else. I think even Alan tried to verbally attack me in the chamber at one point as well, because we did a video clip of showing how Alan voted in relation to his support. It was unwavering, and then he got back into his community and he tried to deny it.
Video clips are so fake.
It's unbelievable that these people would openly say this in a public webcast. But as I said again, if you take where we are in relation to independence, and I think Wullie's comments are right, majority of them end up leaving political parties, and they're there because for whatever reason we could be classified as independents, although they're 70s, but we could be classified as that.
I think if you're not whipped by your party, I think you're free from the shackles of manipulation. And I think that's what it is. That there is a degree of manipulation. There's a degree of front. Often it can be let's plan a situation. Let's plan an agenda item so that it looks as if we're socking it to. We're looking after communities and we're going against officer recommendations. When in actual fact,
you're doing it for the political.
You're doing it for the fall. The political capital.
And you know what, good luck to the organisation that go to it. I must say that my comments are absolutely no way disrespectful to them. It's just the process and the hypocrisy that surrounds that process. Indeed. That's basically all it is. Indeed. Well, Jerry Brennan, that's been us. Another week, another hour and a half has quickly flown by.
I've got a quick question though in relation to that, Ian. Do you think if you had brought forward that motion and not Councillor Rorty, do you think that would have gone through?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because again, this all comes back down to who's on the payroll, Jerry. Who's on the payroll? And on that bombshell, Jerry, it'll never be I.
It'll never be you.
Till next week, folks. And by the way, before we go, have your own TikTok or any other social media, podcast channel, YouTube, etc. Please like, subscribe. You'll help the channel a great deal. And also, Jerry and I will be eternally grateful. And this can help support those future independent candidates. So the more you watch your new videos, the more independent candidates we can financially support in forthcoming elections. Thank you very much. And this has been What's the Point?
Cheers, Greg.